Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
And we're live.
Wow. We're
Darren gave us a countdown, so I just felt like that
Always,
was the appropriate thing to say.
celebrating early. Yeah.
Episode 11.
How's it going?
Episode 11.
How's everybody?
Hi.
11. That's
Holy, welcome to Toque Talk, everybody.
Crazy.
Hi.
so crazy.
We got a good show today.
10 weeks ago we started this thing.
It's been crazy.
11 weeks
It's been
ago,
crazy.
yeah. Isn't that mental?
Mm-hmm.
And we're
It's
starting
metal.
a trend. I see everybody's
Yeah.
doing a show now. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Not as good as ours, though.
Who else?
Not as Canadian, not as
Not as
good.
Canadian,
And, I
no.
mean,
That's true, yeah. It's if you can find better Canadian content, you're
that's-
watching
yeah,
CBC.
Exactly.
You can write that down.
Shit's Creek.
That's
Shit's
my wife's
Creek.
favorite show.
Yeah,
That's
Shit's
my-
Creek.
yeah.
Have you watched
Trailer
on?
Park Boys.
I've
I
never.
do love that show.
Where I long to be.
I'm fully
Every
engulfed.
stop I'm making new friends. Can't stay for long, keep moving on. I'm home back again.
Isn't that so? The Littlest Hobo, was that not a CTV show? I'm not sure.
Oh,
what's
was
the? I don't know. I'm
I just
actually
assumed it was CBC, but you could be right.
That's such a generational.
That's the
thing, too.
Beachcombers.
Oh, yeah.
Beachcombers. Yeah, that's a very recent, really topical
Yeah.
show. We're
Well,
bringing
can
up
you
there.
think of what would you consider to be the ultimate classic Canadian show?
ultimate classic
Tommy Hunter.
show?
Yeah,
Definition.
there's a few. Yeah.
Oh, definition.
Of course, Definition made popular by Mike
Thank
Myers. Yeah. Again, yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
CTV,
SCTV, of course.
Tommy
SCTV.
Hunter's definitely up there.
Wayne and
Tommy
Schuster.
Hunter for sure, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good one.
Wayne and
Oh,
Schuster.
yeah.
There
How about
you
Smith
go.
and Smith?
Smith and
Yeah.
Smith.
Wasn't
Bizarre.
Bizarre.
Bizarre is great.
John
John
Biner.
Biner.
Who
That's
was
where
not
Dave
Canadian.
Osborne, Dave Osborne came from.
Yeah.
John Biner was not Canadian.
And
which is
and what was the
Oh,
what's that? The handy guy there? The if you can't be handsome, be handy. You get red
Well, that
green.
was,
There you
the
go.
Red
yeah.
Green
Red Green Show.
Ed Green, yeah.
And wasn't he
think
part of
so,
Smith
yeah.
Smith and Smith?
He was
He was
the
that was his
male part of-
alternate character.
What about The Nature of Things?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Still a
Suzuki.
classic.
He's
Still
so
a
awesome.
classic, yeah.
David
For-
Suzuki.
Forest Rangers.
Which one?
Forest Rangers.
Forest Rangers.
Danger Bay.
Wow.
And
Danger
Or of course
Bay.
we can't go without saying
And-
Degrassi Junior High, who has spawned some of the.
The grass.
I mean, every-
yes.
that's off the
Bring
radar
guys like you, Darren.
because I left way before all that.
Before
What
Degrassi.
about You
Yeah.
Can't Do That on Television?
It was.
that Canadian
That
or
was,
not?
That's
uh,
Canadian. Yeah.
And what was
Alanis
that? The guy's name? Barf. I heard that.
Wait, was Emergency? Was that Canadian?
No.
So.
No, but I love that
Part of,
show.
like,
Rampart.
Adam 12 and Emergency were like
I
kind
love
of
those.
70s kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey,
There's probably a million more Canadian type shows that exist in for younger people now, but those are the ones we grew up on. The Friendly Giant would be a good one. Mr. Dress Up.
Dress up.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. And then in
What's the show that Adam Beach has been on? Darren?
That was Danger Bay. No, it wasn't Danger Bay. It
north
was,
north of 60.
Alaska.
Is that the
It
one?
was an Alaskan show. North of 60. I
There's
think.
another one. Yeah, it's something to do
And then
with God.
Alex Ponovic is in it too. That was in the one. That,
And then what's that? Corner Gas. I don't know if that was one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corner Gas.
Gas,
Corner
right?
Gas has found a whole new audience in like through Netflix and stuff or Hulu or wherever
Yeah.
it's at, because
Hulu, yeah.
people will say to me like, "You're from Saskatchewan,
Or-
right?"
or we-
like, "Oh,
And we
let
can't-
me guess. Let me guess.
What
you watch
about
Corner Gas."
Trailer Park Boys?
We can't not say. I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah, of course.
That's probably the furthest reaching of all the shows right now. I think that.
How-
I mean, deservedly so.
Fubar never really made it anywhere else.
I just watched a thing. Oh, I listened to a podcast with Ed Helms. You know Ed Helms from The Hangover and The Office and all those shows.
Mhm.
He was just doing a movie. He's just making a movie, and he goes, "Yeah, the director. I forget the name now, which I should know. But he goes, he made these great films called Fubar." And I go, "What?" I go, it took me a second. I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, there are these really great like." I don't even think he said Canadian. He just said, "Yeah, there's these two films called Fubar." And I go, "Wow."
Yeah.
I gotta
Well, if
check
anybody
this out."
watching
Yeah.
hasn't checked those out, I mean, that's the ultimate Canadian duo right there. I mean, that pretty much sums up everything that you'll ever want to know about Canada, especially especially the prairies.
Yeah, that's cool.
Did that precede Wayne and Garth? Because similar sort of characters, right? The two
Fubar were years after, but
really,
I mean, I think they may. I don't know if there's any direct comparison, but
you know that Myers was doing that character in Canada for years. Like, he did it on
SNL.
He did it on SNL, but he was doing it in Canada before he ever went to SNL, because it was sort of like your Canadian, like, Sarnia dude or whatever.
Yeah,
And then he went to, then all of a sudden they based him out of Chicago suburbs or whatever, and sort of changed it. That's why there's a donut shop called Stan Mikita's, which is based on the Tim
nice.
Hortons.
Yeah.
Stan Mikita was Chicago Blackhawk. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Don't you love how Bob and Doug from SCTV, Bob and Doug McKenzie, have now been in the orbit recently?
Yeah.
Right.
It's not probably not Rick Moranis and Dave. What was his name
Thomas.
again?
Dave Thomas.
Probably
No.
not those guys.
Should be, yeah.
Should be though.
It should be though. Yeah.
Did you know it was Ian Thomas that wrote the song "Take Off"?
No
Dave
way.
Thomas's brother.
Yeah.
Ian Thomas
Oh,
was
wow.
he's a popular singer. He had some hits back then.
Painted
Yeah.
Ladies.
Yeah, and he could do an amazing Hoser voice, by the way.
He
He
originated it, apparently. Apparently, Dave Thomas got it from Ian.
There you go. So it's basically like some sort of like exaggerated.
It's
It's
a club guy, right?
It's exaggerated, right? That's an exaggerated accent. Like, we don't sound like
Todd
that, do
Todd's
we?
answering questions, and everybody is wondering who you're answering to.
I'm talking to the. I'm getting
Yeah,
fed
exactly.
information by Jeff Neill.
Yeah, I guess
probably introduce Jeff
we
Neill
usually
to
run
Ron
this
saying
thing through, but just
it's-
to recap, I mean, anything interesting going on in personal lives over the last week? Anything share worthy? What's going on?
Yeah.
7 days sitting right here waiting for this to fire up. I sit right here the
Yeah.
whole time, just kind of
Ah!
go.
Corey?
Well, yesterday I had a huge day. I went on a 17-mile hike.
Damn.
Pretty epic.
Was that like, were you being punished for something, or?
It
Just
was so fun. We went from the tallest point in the Santa Monica Mountains, which is Sandstone Peak on Boney Mountain, and then we went all the way down to the ocean. Down.
Wow. So
Yep.
whereabouts in the ocean do you end up? In Santa Monica?
It's a place called Point Mugu State Park. It's if you were in Malibu and you kept going north on the PCH, you would, and you crossed into Ventura County, then you would get in that area. So it's
Pacific Coast Highway for anybody who's
exactly, Pacific Coast Highway.
Is that past Zuma, like where they filmed Baywatch and all that?
Way past, way north from
Way
there.
past?
Yeah.
West, I should say west.
So Corey, have you completed this entire trip to Mordor that you're taking before your
No.
birthday?
I have one more section which I'm doing on my birthday.
Did you do it with Samwise Gamgee? Is all I want to know.
Yes. Yes.
So you have one more. Well, how much further
more
do you have to go?
I got about 9 more miles.
Damn.
Yeah,
So
and
17 miles is 27 kilometers for those of you. that
Yeah.
don't- That's a long
Holy,
way.
that's a long way, dude. Why? And that's all on foot.
yeah, we just walked it all. I was with
How long did it take?
Shania bass player. Took exactly 7.5 hours.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and that was with probably a half an hour's lunch break.
And what was the heat like in California? Because if you did that here, you would be dead in 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, it was a perfect day for it. We started really early in the morning, so it was cool in the morning. And then the closer we got to the ocean, the cooler it got, and the more of an offshore
Yeah.
breeze, the sea breeze was coming in.
And you did it with Derek Frank, who plays bass for Shania, and Gwen Stefani, and who actually played for Toque one night, just filled in at
The Lucky Strike.
Lucky Strike. Yeah, we did one show, just a random show, and Derek got up and played bass.
Kyle Whalum, the current bass player for Kelly Clarkson.
Oh, really? Wow.
He's in the house band, and that was the first time we did a hike with him. Now that guy is super, super fit. He goes on these 100-mile races.
Damn.
Wow.
So that's 100 miles of running without stopping. When you kind of
God.
eat as you go, and Yeah, really
How
really
do you?
intense.
So you're eating while you're running? Like I mentioned, a plate of pasta.
Yeah.
Probably doing a lot of those Jews or something.
Guy
right?
drives up with the taco truck. Drives up. Yeah, dude.
No, you know how those guys do it. They have those gels.
Oh,
These
okay.
gels.
Delicious.
No, I don't know how they do that. That's crazy. Good for him. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it was a walk in the park for him to do,
Wow.
17
Of
miles.
course. Yeah, for him. That's way less than 100 miles.
How
I
much
did
of-
bike 32 kilometers on Saturday, guys. It's
You
not
did?
quite the hike you did, but I hadn't biked in months, and Lee Wren and I just said we better go for it. It was a super nice day, and 32 clicks after we got back.
Amazing. Good for you.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
gotta get rid of my COVID body shape going on these days.
And I watched all 7 seasons of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So there's that.
That's a marathon in itself.
Well, to be honest, I started it back when when this all started. It was just sort of slowly kind of happened, and I go, man, we're at the last episode here. What
There
the
you
hell?
go, yeah.
That's for sure. You got a big day tomorrow.
Really?
Big day tomorrow.
We're gonna go there.
I don't know. That's why I lifted
Well, now
up.
we have to.
sort of
What's
embellish
happening
on
tomorrow?
that. You can
Yeah. I'm
Are you
actually.
getting a vasectomy or something? What's going on?
Oh,
put
no.
it this way. He's angry. He's angry right now.
I'm going to get it's just a screening, but it's a colonoscopy.
Ah,
Today I'm fasting. Actually, I started today. And then tomorrow morning I go in, I get a little COVID test, like a pre-COVID test.
really?
And I think they can tell in 45 minutes. And then it's on to the gurney IV, and I guess
So-
they fill me up with air.
Yeah,
Wow.
sounds like fun. So do they need to know if you have, is the COVID somehow related to the COVID test somehow related to the colonoscopy, or is it just,
They just want to make sure you
they're
don't
just
have it.
checking that as well?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
And for
have
those
it,
of
they
the
don't want you
and
in
for those
the
watching,
hospital.
describe
That's-
what a colonoscopy is. Just kidding, but considering you're fasting, all this talk about tube goo must be making you a little hungry. So
Hey, most of us here have an ex-wife. We know exactly what a colonoscopy is.
so you're giving away half your shit tomorrow.
even know what
That's
that
really
means.
You're doing, yeah.
I don't. Yeah, exactly.
Have you started taking that liquid, Shane, yet? Because that's a problem, right?
The purge, which I'm lucky because I don't start doing that for another couple hours. But once that happens,
Okay.
You should do it mid-show
Otherwise-
because I think it'll make for a great entertainment.
Oh.
I mean, pretty much have
Yeah, start drinking it now. That'll be fun.
Watching you run away.
I pretty much have to park yourself on the toilet, right, Corey?
Yeah. Good times.
Corey's done it twice, by the
Oh
way.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, really?
I've done it
So
twice.
nice, done it twice. Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
it done on a UFO.
When you have someone in your family, what's that?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Nope.
I'm on the wrong now here in Minnesota. I'll be right-
Corey's breaking up.
Does Corey
Yeah,
sound like
Corey's
he's not
breaking up a little
listening
bit.
to you? No, he just got
Maybe
a
getting-
With his
Is he
own.
there, Corey?
I'm back.
Hey, there he is.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
So, did you want to? Oh, never mind. We don't even. I think we've
Yeah,
exhausted
I know.
this
We've
subject.
done
No
everything
lost problem.
from eyes to asses now. So let's.
From eyes to asses. The two.
So we might as well introduce our guest this week and get the show going. So who wants to do the honors?
Well, I think
Fitz?
he's. I know. I just want to throw in really quickly
Todd?
that me and Fitz did a Canadian themed Eddie Trunk show not that long ago. Eddie Trunk, a former guest on Toque at Tuesdays. And my favorite band of the top 5 that we each picked a top 5, and my favorite band was Haywire. Just kidding. My favorite band was Streetheart. So we should introduce him. So Fitz, go ahead and introduce our guest.
Well,
That was me buying points.
I love that I get to introduce our guest today because I am in the city of Winnipeg, the
That's
great
right.
city that breeds so many great bands. And our guest is actually, the band he's that we were just talking about is, we'll call it a Winnipeg band, even though the members are from various places in the prairies and whatnot. But and Jeff is not originally
We can
from.
tell the truth and say they're from Saskatchewan. And then, okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely. Which Rider Pride. But what's great to know, even though I believe we can talk about it with him, where he's originally from, which I believe is Ontario, but he is now new resident of the city of Winnipeg. So we're only a few minutes apart, but I would say we all agree, one of our favorite bands from Canada, favorite guitar player, wrote some of our favorite songs, in fact, that we have covered on Toque Records.
Yes.
And most important, not only is he a close friend, but he actually is an honorary member of our band and has shared the stage with us. So, so let's bring in the legendary, well-traveled, world-traveled Jeff Neill.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
That's a standing note.
Nice to be here today. It's great following that subject matter too.
Everything's
Wonderful.
up from there.
Yeah,
Everything's up
nothing's
from there.
off the table here.
You know, exactly. Let me start with the first question. The first album you played on with Streetheart is their biggest hit. Is that a correlation that the addition of Jeff Neill completely took it over the top?
I would say.
According to my mom and dad, yes.
That's the correct answer. Answer.
You know, there have been Streetheart has an interesting history because my favorite lineup was the original lineup, and anyone who saw that group of 5 men playing together know what I'm talking about. Their chemistry was scary, unbelievable, swagger and skill. But that Streetheart album, I think that we spent a lot of time writing songs. I think the quality of the songs that we wrote at that time really reflect how well that connected with everyone.
Yeah.
You know. So I think that has a lot to do with it. We may not have had the same pirate swagger that first band had, but we had our own version of it, and I think we had the great material to back up the band at that time.
Well, it certainly went on to be the most like that stuff was everywhere. When that album came out, my band played like probably 4 songs off that album in our set. One More Time, those songs. Yeah, it was huge.
We had I think there were 5 singles on that record. What Kind of Love Is This was probably the highest charting song that the band had ever written. I mean, They had a couple other maybe bigger with Under My Thumb. Here Comes the Night that got into the national top 10. What Kind of Love Is This? I'm pretty sure was the highest charting song that we wrote as a band. So that's it's a nice little thing to have. It's so great that all those songs still stand up. It's a testament to the fans that not only us but all of our colleagues get to enjoy these.
Totally.
They're lifers, you know. They're
Absolutely.
We never knew that at the time. I mean, when the band broke up in 1984, I used to say to Kenny, I said, Kenny, it's okay. We never had a plan for 2015 or 2016, right? You know, when we broke up 30 years ago. But the fans have kept us alive, and those songs in particular, yes.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Well, it's funny to think about that because so you were there for how many years when you joined?
I joined the band in early 1981 and was with the band until 1984.
Damn, so there was a lot of output during your time in like basically a 3-4 year span. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm a fairly prolific writer. Like I always have ideas. I've always got stuff going on. I still do. Daryl and Spider the same way. We've always been writing songs, ideas, and genesis of songs. But you know how it was back in the day. Not only us, but all artists were doing 1 or 2 albums a year. I mean, look at how the Beatles were going. They were knocking off a record every 6 months.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah.
They were pretty good songwriters.
Not bad.
They did okay. Whatever happened to those guys?
Yeah. Nobody's touched the Beatles for 50 years.
Exactly. Next question.
One of my first concerts actually was seeing you guys at the Civic Center in Moose Jaw.
Yeah.
Is that the shirt?
This is the shirt from that, but you know what? So this is the Dancing with Danger. Can you guys see that? It was the official, but this isn't my shirt. This isn't my shirt, and it's actually Jody's shirt.
Wow.
Although I had one, but I don't know where it went. She kept everything, right? I mean, that Loverboy headband we had on a past episode, that was hers.
All you got to do is walk
So,
18 kilometers a day, and
I
you can fit into your wife's clothes. Everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, the good old days.
Doing there.
I remember those days, going through your girlfriend's closet going, can I wear this tonight for the gig?
Yeah.
No, look at it. It looks better on me than you.
Yeah.
So I remember standing first in line outside the Civic Center waiting to get in because it was general seating. And of course, I wanted to be right up at the front of the stage in the spit zone. And ran in, and the Queen City Kids opened for you guys that day.
Oh, wow.
That's correct.
And I had my disc, remember those Kodak disc cameras?
Yeah.
I had that with me, and I took pictures, and I searched high and low to find those pictures so that I could show everybody on the show today. But Jeff, you were there with your, do you remember having a red and white striped shirt?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
That was his girlfriend's shirt. He took
And
that.
Yeah. No,
And you
that's
had,
one of the few things that was mine.
Yeah, exactly. You had a bandana around your leg or something with.
Yeah,
Which
probably
was his style
several.
at the time.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a great show.
It was great fun. Well, I remember that room that had with that funny ceiling. I can remember playing that room. I remember the acoustics were challenging.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they were great days. They were really great days. Wonderful days.
yeah. That Civic Center's gone. They tore that down, and they have a new arena downtown.
Okay,
So
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know.
Jeff, was that where Live After Dark was recorded, that tour, or was that previous?
The shows that we did for Live After Dark we did them exclusively for recording. I think we did 5 days at the Norlander.
In Winnipeg, yeah.
Absolutely fun-filled, liquor-drenched evenings, et cetera, at the Norlander. Then we did a couple of nights at the convention in South in Edmonton. I think we did 2 nights there, and then we did 1 night at the Regina Agrodome.
Oh yeah.
We did 1 night there. So we did a total of 8 shows that we recorded and traveled with the mobile. We pulled the Studer 24 track out of Century 21, and John Hildebrand came and recorded the whole thing in their little sort of setup mobile. We didn't use. I think we used only 1 or 2 tracks from Regina just because we preferred the sound of the drier rooms, the clubs for mixing.
Yeah.
Ultimately, in the end, that gave us the most impact in the sound. But we didn't record in Moose Jaw, but those Regina, Edmonton, and Winnipeg were the cities that we recorded specifically for that album.
That's great. That's a
The
very
inside pullout
album.
of the double album, I remember,
Yeah.
of course, I loved my Kiss records growing up because they had epic photos in the middle. But the photo I'm talking about of you guys sort of all on top of each other on that live record.
Like me leaning back over Kenny.
Yeah.
That's on the
Yeah.
back cover. Yeah.
On the back cover. There it is.
Yes.
Such a good memory for me. Like that was a very I probably still like the live version of some of those songs, like Just For You and all that.
Yeah.
Like just
yeah,
fantastic.
they're great.
Go ahead, Toque. Sorry.
No, the Under My Thumb version on that thing is quintessential. With
Yes.
the long extended down thing in the middle and all that is so
Oh
epic.
yeah. Yeah.
And that was all live, man. There was no edits. It was just
No.
like the real
we're playing.
organic sound of the live show.
Yeah.
Well, Shane, we had that luxury of playing all the time. I mean, it's like when we were talking about that little story about the young guys coming out to the shows. We got to cut our teeth. Like even guys like me, more than you young fellas, we had this great opportunity to play 6 nights a week, 5 to 6 hours a night, 52 weeks a year. You get good.
Yeah, absolutely. The band gets super tight. Yeah.
And the band gets tight. But that, back to what you were saying, Shane, we played all the time. We rehearsed all the time. And that's what we did. We lived and breathed and ate music, and sometimes that's all we had to eat was the music because we didn't have any money. But they were great days, and I listened to that live album. We just re-released it with Universal last year, and I'm very proud of what they remixed it. They actually added Highway Isolation, which is Spider's bass song.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
It's vinyl, because now you can actually, the technology is available to get more time onto vinyl, sides of vinyl, than they used to be.
Right.
It used to be that 19 minutes a side kind of magic number, and after that, you forget about it.
So they dug out the tapes and remixed it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was, Andres Lara is the remastering gentleman at Universal. He did an excellent job. Very, very good. He remastered both that and our greatest hits that we put out last year as well, the Life Legacy Music album.
Yeah, I think it's great too.
And I do know, Jeff, because I'm very close with you, but a lot of that catalog that's been brought to the forefront recently has a lot to do with you working with the labels and whatnot and getting everything, sort of relevant, right?
Yes,
because stuff was released on vinyl and it might have been released some on CD, but putting it on Spotify and then re-releasing stuff, because a lot of those bands that we liked, it's sometimes you can't find their stuff on Spotify, like some of the older bands and all that. Right. And you've done like an amazing job of sort of spearheading all you're the Streetheart, what are you, the catalog?
Yeah, I'm a curator, whatever that
curator,
is.
Yeah.
I think that I've learned to appreciate the value of understanding the business. And I think that it's very important that you have a very strong and aggressive business person to protect your artist. The artist, the artist is like, hey, come on in. Sure, what do you want? Take whatever you want.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to get to a guy that goes, who are you? What do you want? Like a bouncer, but I'm not quite, but you know what I'm saying. You have to protect the artist. And one of the things that I have learned is that if you have a good sort of sane relationship with the record company, Universal Music Canada has been so good to work with. In particular, Warren Stewart. He's been very helpful, very open. We found ways. He's treated us with a lot of respect, and we're not a big fish. I mean, we're not Sting. We're not the Rolling Stones as far as numbers, but he treats us like we're one of the biggest bands on their catalog. And so you get inspired to do the work.
So speaking of the work, awesome. I saw the other day that actually Spider had mentioned that having you back in Winnipeg, there was talk of new material coming up, and
I read that too.
Yeah.
Is that something that we have to look forward?
Yes. Yes, it is, Darren. We've been writing for the past month. I have a very spacious studio, so we've been able to sit 20 feet apart. And we've been sharing ideas. We've written 24 songs this month.
Yeah. You guys are playing live in a room, or just?
No. We're writing sessions. We have Daryl's got a little keyboard set up in the corner with acoustic guitar. I'm playing acoustic guitar. I'm basically sitting we're like the position where Corey is right now in front of the screens, running the show. And we got a couple of room mics set up. Spider's got his bass, and we just share ideas. Okay, we sit down and go, okay, who's got something? Daryl goes, okay, I've got this thing. Okay, start playing it. And we basically have just been playing. We've been writing arrangements, and basically framing houses. Okay, this looks good. And once we get a concept of structure, we leave it. We'll come back to everything. Obviously, we have to clean up things like lyric, counter melodies, secondary melodies in the song, arrangement. But we have some very, very good songs. Daryl's
very exciting. Do you have a plan? Do you have a plan, where you're going to go with this, or is the next step put a record together or go in a proper studio, or you just do it yourself, or what do you think?
We've tossed around a number of ways that we can do it. We certainly have a lot of experience, collectively now in recording. Sure. I've had a lot of producer experiences. I think that we could I think we know ourselves as well as anybody. Having said that, if somebody got interested that would bring cachet and knowledge to the record, we do that. I'm very realistic to know that it's very difficult for a classic rock band to put out new material that really gets attention. I think it's good to do it, I think people will be interested, and I think our fans, as much as any fans of any band out there, will want to hear and give our new music a chance. And judging by what we're writing, they're going to be
of course, it wouldn't be fair to
great.
discuss Streetheart without bringing up, of course, the legendary Kenny Shields, who
of course,
if anybody doesn't know, passed away a few years ago. What is the process like writing new material without Kenny? Is that...
Well, it's different now. When we used to, before the band broke up, essentially Spider and Daryl and I would get together in a room and we would toss around ideas. Here's the setup. Daryl played keyboards and bass with his left hand. Spider would play drums.
Oh wow!
And I'd play guitar. And Daryl and I would kind of sort of sing. And we'd flesh out songs, the three of us, because Kenny was a vocalist.
Right.
And he didn't come in with the bones of a song. He contributed to every song. He wrote lyric. He would change melody. He would adjust. He would stylize the song to fit his incredibly unique and one-of-a-kind style.
Sure.
So once we had some bones of songs, we said, Kenny, you need to come down and hear this one. And he'd come down and go, yeah, guys, I'm liking that one. Can we do this to it? I'm seeing this thing. So he gave the song its unique character. So when we get to that point, that's going to be a different thing for us, Darren, as you were talking about. Right now, this is how we did it many, many years ago. The three of us would sit down and try and get stuff ready for the vocalist.
And it seems, typical to Canada. I mean, again, we have to pat ourselves on the back because you give credit where credit's due. Unlike situations like you guys have talked about with Miles, and of course other bands, big bands that have, changed singers. You guys have had a pretty good response to what you've been doing lately with Paul, correct? Like, Darren,
we've been overwhelmed by the goodwill that we've had, by the understanding. I think our fan base is very mature. I think they have a very realistic perspective. I think that they understand that the fans' love of the music will probably outlast most of the bands.
Yeah. Well, Paul's also great. It would make a big difference if Paul wasn't awesome. Paul's amazing.
He's a brilliant singer. I mean, I talk to the guys and I go, if Paul wasn't here, I don't know what we would do, because we didn't want to. You can't find somebody to replace Kenny. You can't replace a voice like that. No. We needed to find a singer who could sing a very difficult catalog of songs. Not only that, he had to stand in front of us and play.
Yeah.
There's not many guys that I know that could do that. The one or two guys I know are already in band.
So it's funny that you're bringing this up, because the other day I was watching on Netflix a new documentary. So if anybody out there, by the way, wants to check it out, it's a Queen documentary featuring their discovery of Adam Lambert. And I remember them talking about almost the same thing. They said, we weren't sure it was going to happen. It had to be the right person. It had to be somebody that could do everything. And it wasn't just going to be let's pick somebody and go. So it was kind of almost an accident that they ran into. Is that how the situation kind of played out with you guys, or were you actively looking for somebody?
No, I mean, in 2017, we stopped playing. We didn't do anything for months. It was just kind of, everybody was so gutted. I mean, as you can, like everyone was. About a month after it happened, when I was home in Vancouver, it hit me. Just like, oh.
Yeah, I bet.
It was much later on in the year. Because people were sending us lovely messages. They were offering their condolences, and many of them were saying, please, guys, don't stop playing. We love Kenny. We love him so much. We miss him, but please don't stop. Right. And we thought, oh, how can we do this? But we've known Paul. Again, the Prairies is full of not only great hockey players, but incredible musicians.
Yeah. Jeff, I've known Paul since 1987 when we first played together. He was one of the first, great singers I got to work with back
Right.
in the day. So for me, as a fan of you and the band, and having someone regionally, a local Winnipegger be part of the band, it kind of means a lot to me as well that Paul is from Winnipeg.
That was very important to us. I think that when we announced Paul, nobody went, "Oh, is he any good?" Never heard of him.
Right.
90% of people went, "Wow, perfect choice. That's your guy." I even had people sending me these messages going, "Dude, why?" Before we made any kind of announcement, going, "You should use Paul McNair. He's your guy." Like, we're not talking about that. We have this very difficult catalog of songs to sing, and the bar was set so high by Kenny. I mean, not only he could sing in that range, but his delivery.
Oh yeah.
Kenny had that dangerous thing. He had
swagger.
He had swagger, sex appeal. I mean, he was as powerful as Rod Stewart or Mick Jagger at their peak. Yeah. At his peak, there has never been a better frontman than Kenny Shields.
I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. But having said all that, we are over the moon with how people get the big picture. They just love. You can see the joy in the faces of people hearing these songs again. And Paul has stepped in, and he's done it with so much respect for the legacy of the band and his own talent. He isn't trying to do Kenny. He's just this great singer singing this catalog of great songs.
And I think that's how Queen and Adam Lambert perceived himself filling the shoes of Freddie. Because I did see one of those shows, and he was very quick to self-deprecate and say, "I'm not Freddie Mercury. I'm not trying to be, but we're all here to celebrate." And I think that stands as well with you guys, is that the music is bigger, the band is bigger as the legacy than the actual individual. I mean, I'm really happy that Spider is playing with you and Daryl.
Yeah, that's
And that's very important for us. That was I had suggested. I said, "We're not playing until you're available."
That's great.
We need him. He's our virtuoso.
Yeah. He's the most underrated player on the planet. I always say Spider. It's funny that you had like one of the greatest frontmen in rock and roll, and then you got this bass player who's like, in my opinion, could be playing with anybody. He's like the best.
When the original lineup of Streetheart, as a band, it must have been what hockey teams felt like playing against the Detroit power play in the 80s. Oh, come on, really? Come on. What did it take, 4 seconds to score?
Streetheart, my second concert ever, and my first concert was Kiss. And, it was like a big show thing, and Kiss is amazing. Theatrical, but when I saw Streetheart in Red Deer in this small little place, front row, it was like it was either 78 or 79. It was just after Paul left.
Oh, okay. Right.
Me and my friend were there looking at each other. It was Tease opened up.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Remember what tour that was?
That was before me, but I want to say that was the
John Hanna.
Yeah, it was John Hanna. Yeah. But I was trying to think with the tour.
I'm just trying to remember the year. I texted my friend.
79, I think.
8 or 79. Okay.
Yeah.
Under Heaven, Over Hell, maybe.
Yeah.
And
that'd be the one.
And it was a band. There was no gimmicks. It was just a band right there kicking ass, and Matt on drums and Kenny just like captivating presence. It was
incredible. Yeah.
It was again another paradigm shift for me after seeing Kiss, which was a whole nother thing, to seeing what a real band with real players can do.
Yeah.
It was amazing, and it stayed with me all these years. It was just it changed me, and I'm trying to remember the freaking venue too. I'm texting my friend because he was with me, blown away talking to you actually.
Well, I had the same feeling watching them for the first time. I said, God, I hate my band. I never want to play again. I looked around, and every musician in the room was just staring at their shoes.
So Jeff, you're not Prairie Boy. You're from Ontario.
Yes, Sault Ste. Marie.
So, and I know your dot connects you to the band, because you were probably friends with those guys before you were in the band, right?
Yes.
So I definitely want to ask you about that. And then, but let's not forget, we were talking about great singers, but we have lots of people that watch some of our, friends from around the world. But you have a whole other storyline of music that took you over to Australia. So I want to talk about that. But I just want to connect the dots from how Ontario connected you to the Streetheart guys.
Well, I left Sault Ste. Marie after I graduated from high school. I was 18. Went out on the road with my first band. Recruited a few of my younger high school chums, Mick Bellaby and Michael Sicoli, to play with my band Shama. We located out in Vancouver. I've lived there since about 1978.
So what brought you to Vancouver? That's a long way from Sault Ste. Marie.
Well, Vancouver was a city you could launch internationally from. It had the music scene, had the management. Bruce Allen was happening, BTO was happening. I had just seen the Hans Stamer group, which had Eddie Patterson and Jeff Eyre and Wayne Kozak, and these guys were just blew. Oh, there was the heavy session guys from Vancouver. There was great music out there. And you could launch internationally from there. And not to mention the fact that it didn't snow in the winter.
Yes, that's a big one. That is that
helped. So that's why I went out there. And I met Kenny and Daryl and Spider when they were with Kenny Shields and Witness in the mid '70s. We didn't know each other a lot because we were always all playing. Yeah. But Brent, you were alluding to Jimmy Barnes. I hooked up with him in 1986.
Okay, so pretty quickly after, a couple years after you left Streetheart.
Streetheart, yeah. Basically, after Streetheart broke up, I went back to Vancouver. Was doing basically just doing session work. There was a good session scene there. I was a rock guitar player who could play in tune, so I got a lot of calls.
That's important.
And left-handed.
I couldn't read. My reading was terrible, but I could do cool stuff, and they liked it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I remember in February of 1986, I got a call from Bruce Allen because I had heard this Jimmy Barnes guy on the radio, and I just went, "Hey, this guy's sort of like Bob Seger on steroids."
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
You know, that raspy voice, but a slightly another half an octave higher.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I heard that there was Bruce had put a band together for him, but I didn't get asked, and I'm kind of like, well, I didn't get asked to play this band. A couple months later, Bruce called me up to replace Dave Amato, who I don't know if you know Dave.
I know Dave, yeah.
He's still with REO Speedwagon.
He plays with REO now, yeah.
Yeah. And
you guys play together, Todd, too.
Yeah, we play together, yeah. It's good.
And he was playing with Jimmy, and he was going off to do a tour with Cher.
Oh, I see.
So I got the call from Bruce to go down. Jeff, Bruce out. Yeah, I know. And he's a lovely fellow. Yeah. And he said, "Listen, it's too late. We can't get you work visa. You're going to sneak across the border." Okay, what's that? So I drove with my then wife. We drove from Vancouver down to Seattle on the premise of going for a little weekend. I had my guitar in tow with me, Frank, as you see in every picture. And then I got on the plane in Seattle, flew to Kansas City. Saw them play one show. We went to St. Louis the next day. Dave ran through me his parts in the dressing room. We did a walkthrough with the guys, and we went on stage and played in St. Louis that night.
Wow.
And it was like, okay, first song is in A, Jeff, go, you start. Oh.
Wow.
And I did that. We did that for 3 months, and then Jimmy went back to Australia. And we got along, but we butted heads all the time, Jimmy and I. And I thought, okay, this guy hates me. At the end of that tour, he came up to me and he said, "Jeff, I want you to go over to Australia and fix my band." Which
really?
blew me.
Wow.
So I went over and played with him, and I wasn't prepared for what I saw when I went over there. The loyalty that his fans. To play in a building with 15,000 people singing a song that you know none of the words to.
Wow.
It's quite something.
Yeah.
It's quite humble. You go, wow, this is a big world.
That's bad. Now, how many years did you spend with
Chisel songs, right?
Right.
I'm sorry. Todd, you asked how many years I was with Jimmy?
Yeah, how were you with Jimmy?
I was with him for 11 years.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
were you basically living in Australia during all this, or?
Yeah, I moved down to Australia in 1990.
Whereabouts? Where were you living?
We lived. I lived in the same little town that Jimmy lived in. It was a little town called Bowral, Bowral, about 100 kilometers south of Sydney.
Really, that's so great. What an experience. That's amazing.
It's wonderful. And we lived in the same little town, so we were always working and writing together. Jimmy had a world-class studio in the basement of his house. Why not?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We traveled all the time. During the last number of years, I traveled with him a lot to do press and promo. We did a lot of things together, kind of acoustic guitar and voice, going into the studios and singing. And then we also moved over to Europe. We lived in the south of France for a couple of years in the mid-90s. Wow. Well, Jimmy was with BMG at that time, and he was high on their list to break in Europe. So he brought his family and moved them over to Aix-en-Provence.
Wow.
It's so great.
So funny that you had all these experiences, like, just, it wasn't like you just been hanging around Vancouver all these years. No, you were like getting to do that whole thing, yeah.
Well, as big as, as successful as I've had the career I've enjoyed with Streetheart in Canada, the career with Jimmy Barnes was gigantic.
Oh, yeah.
Huge. Yeah. I mean, we played, I played to 250,000 people with Jimmy. I played to over 100,000 numbers of times. We would do shows, his own shows, 30, 40, 50,000 people. Jimmy sang with Bruce Springsteen, Rod Stewart. Whenever any of these bands come to town, he goes up and sings with them.
Mm-hmm. In North America, we all love the Gonna Have a Good Time, right?
Yeah.
In Excess song.
Yes.
I think everybody knows that song here, but might not have known, well, who's that wicked singer that sings in the verses? Well, that's the legendary Jimmy Barnes. But he's also from the band called Chisel, right? That's correct. Yes. That was the Australian band.
And for anyone who doesn't know Cold Chisel, if I gave you the elevator description, they are Australia's version of the Tragically Hip. They sing about Australia, the Australian story. They have two amazing singers, Jimmy Barnes and Ian Moss, the guitar player. He's a beautiful singer. They have one of the greatest songwriters that I've ever met, and their piano player, Don Walker. And their legacy, their songs are spectacular. But they sing about the Australian experience.
Wow.
And their fans they're probably the biggest band ever in the history of music in Australia.
Wow. And that's why Jimmy's such a god over there. Yeah, for sure.
That certainly has a lot to do with it. Also the fact that he's a great man.
Yeah.
He is one of the finest human beings I've ever met. He does so much charity work. He's the real thing. He's a real rock star. He was wild. He was full on, charming, funny, intelligent. It's the best interview ever. He would just have a place just howling with laughter, but he knew what he was talking about. And then we'd play, an Otis Redding song or something at 9 a.m. We'd rip that off. And so,
amazing.
But his heart is as big as his voice. So his success is all well earned and well deserved.
Yeah, that voice, come on. That voice was nuts. Yeah.
So when did you leave Australia?
I moved back to Canada in the beginning. I stayed in Australia till January of 1997, and I moved back, and I was back about February of 1997 for it.
What was the impetus of leaving Jimmy, or was that just sort of like it ran its course kind of thing?
Well, it had kind of run its course. I think we had spent a lot of years together.
Right.
There was a certain measure of. I'm going to sort of paraphrase a story here. At the end, I was talking to Jimmy, and Jimmy said to me, Jeff, we've worked so much together. He says, and we're mixing a record, and he says, I can feel you standing behind the console. He says, I know you, and you have 1,000 ideas, and I know they're all great. He said, this is my record.
Right.
And he was just saying, Jeff, you need more. You need more than this, And I think that it was time, and right. I love that. That was one of the greatest little ends to a portion of my career. It was done so honorable. We sat in this big studio and had this conversation, and we walked back into the control room better friends after it was over.
There you go. That's great.
We finished the record together.
That's awesome.
So when you came back to Vancouver, that would have been around the time that I got to know you.
Yes.
Because I know we met earlier. You said at Club Soda back when I was like 21 or something like that.
Yes.
But I didn't really know you. We met and went on our way. You went over to Australia, but then you came back, and going back to your story with Shama, the drummer for Shama was Brian Armstrong.
That's correct. Yeah.
And I had quit the music business and gone into computer animation.
Right.
But while I was doing that, I was busking at this market, and the keyboard player for this band called Midlife Crisis was there. And he's like, "Man, I got these guys, a bunch of guys, and we play like every weekend, and you should totally be in our band with us." And his name was Herman Froome.
Yeah, wonderful.
And the drummer for Midlife Crisis was Brian Armstrong. Yeah. So I went out and played a gig with those guys, or a bunch of gigs actually, all while I was in school. And you must have just returned back from Australia at that point. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, because I remember playing we played a couple of gigs together. I can
exactly.
Still see that one with a little low stage somewhere we played. It was some community hall out in the valley somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was where they shoot a lot of TV shows now. What the heck was it called? It's close to Langley. Port Langley?
Yeah,
Port
Langley.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great day.
Yeah, so that was it's quite interesting that one of my childhood heroes would show up, and he was good friends with these guys in this band called Midlife Crisis, because everybody else in the band had moved on from music. Brian was a very, very successful insurance salesman.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And Herman, the guy that recruited me, was an inventor. He had a screwdriver that he invented, which is very successful.
Yeah.
And then you showed
a brilliant guy. Yeah,
oh,
and then
totally.
I guess that would have been because I came back in the spring of 1997, so we would have been playing a couple of gigs around that time period. That was right, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that was a fun time. I remember coming back. It was nice to come back to Vancouver after being away for so long.
So how long was it until you sort of plugged yourself back into Kenny's world? And what were you doing in between that and plugging yourself back into the Streetheart world?
Well, funny you should bring that up. In 1996, I come back to Canada for a holiday.
Sure.
I was staying with a buddy of mine, and I got a call from, I think it was Len Goddard at Sam Feldman's agency.
I knew Lenny was my agent.
Right. And so Len phoned me up and said, "Hey, Jeff, do you want to play a show with Streetheart?" I went, "What?" He said, yeah. There's this festival outside of Winnipeg called Minnedosa.
Yep.
And it's going to be Kenny and Spider and Daryl and Matt. And do you want to play? And I said, yeah, of course I want to play. So that was August of 1996. I want to say it was August 12th was the day we played. I could be wrong, but I think it was August 12th.
Wow.
We walked on stage, set up the gear. We wrote a set list out, and we started. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom.
You guys rehearsed? Was there a little pre-rehearsal, anything?
No, none.
Wow.
I remember walking up there, and there was a great turnout, maybe 15,000, 16,000 people, I'm guessing, at Minnedosa at that time. I mean, it was the beginning of the classic rock resurgence.
Sure.
And Shane, to your question, I remember saying, I wonder what this is going to be like. And about 4 bars in, I said, this is going to be the best hour of my life.
Wow.
I mean, look at who's around me.
Yeah.
It's Kenny Shields, it's Spider Sineve, it's Gerald Gutel, it's Matthew Burnett. Are you kidding?
And was that your first show since you got back to Canada?
That was the first time I played with those guys in 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
And then we did a number of shows in the late 90s with Matty, sort of when Loverboy was kind of in a bit of a hiatus. There was a bit of time. And then I didn't do I didn't get back to working with Kenny again until the fall of 2003. And that's when I came back and started working with him full time. You know, we talked about playing together, and I said, you know, maybe we should record you. You need to make a record. We need to up this franchise a little bit here. You know, you deserve something better than. We need to make this the best that we can make it. And so we had a great run for the. You know, Kenny I think he had a nice renaissance and resurgence in his career at the end, and he got some of the things that he probably didn't get when he was younger that he deserved. You know, in many ways. You know, I think Kenny was a great talent, and probably didn't get as much as he deserved for as good as he was. As great as he was.
And he worked hard too. I mean, he worked all the time. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So a couple of questions coming in online, and of course the one that I have to ask, and of course it's been on my mind now for the last couple of minutes. What made Herman's screwdriver that much different? I'm just kidding.
Actually, I'll explain it to you because it was amazing. It was like a multi-tipped screwdriver that everything was in the handle. You'd pull it out, and it was all really like, it seemed like it was on a hydraulics. It'd pull out. It was really sexy. If tools can be sexy, and you'd take a tip out, and you'd put the other one in, you put the other one back in, and
They have those now. He must have invented those. Yeah.
Well, he invented that stuff, and that was his gig, like you say, Corey.
Yeah. Wow. And he was getting them manufactured in China, and the Chinese stole his patent, and were like making them behind his back.
Oh,
trying to capitalize on that, and so he learned all about that. But
wow,
yeah, I mean that time in my life was very healing because I was so dead from playing. I was so over it.
Yeah,
I was totally jaded, burnt out, you know, the whole thing. But when I played with you guys with Midlife Crisis, we laughed so much and we played just great music. You know, it wasn't anything that was on the top 40. It wasn't anything in the top 40 in country music. It was like whatever the hell we wanted to play.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah, it was a fun band.
The real question actually was somebody online was asking, how were you approached by Streetheart to join the band?
Well, I wasn't. That was Jeff's domain.
No, I'm talking.
I wasn't
to
in
Jeff
Streetheart
right
at all.
Thanks for clearing that up. I saw you had the shirt, so I just assumed.
Well, I kind of knew the guys a bit. I remember when Kenny Shields and Witness were going to start this new band, and they were going to do it with a couple of guys from the Great Canadian River Race, who I hadn't had a chance to see, but I'd heard about this band from Edmonton. And I remember being kind of a little miffed. Why didn't they ask me to play guitar? Until I saw them, and I saw Dean, and I went, oh yeah, okay, now I know why. The guy's fantastic, amazing. Yeah. You know, I got schooled. I just went, what was I thinking? Shut up, Jeff. Go back. But a couple of years later, Bob Ego, Herb Ego, as many of you know, who replaced Matthew after Under Heaven Over Hell, we were brothers-in-law for a number of years.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Right. So we were good. We were married to two sisters. That are still very good friends, and we're all good friends and everything. Life has changed, but we're all still very good friends. Anyways, Bob and I always kept in touch. And then when John got sick, and the band, and he couldn't go on with the band anymore, the band auditioned guys, a number of players, and I was I got an opportunity to audition for the band, and there were 4 songs that we had to play. Action being one of them, which I absolutely gagged at the audition. I thought I've lost the gig. But I knew their whole catalog. So after we did the 4 songs, I said, let's play Teenage Rage. And they went, you know that one? Yeah, I know. You know, we played that. And I said, how about this one? You know, let's play Whose Turn Is It Tonight, right? You know, let's play Star. And I think, you know, and I remember after playing Teenage, Kenny he was sitting down in the chair and he was just nodding to himself, and he said, boy, that felt good. And I said, I'm in. They could have had better guitar players, but I think that I was a student of the band and I had enthusiasm. And I also had the guts to stand there and play a couple of my own original tunes, just myself with guitar.
Wow.
Oh, wow. There you go. That goes a long
And did
way.
any of those parlay into any of the Streetheart catalog?
I can't remember. I don't think so. I think inevitably, eventually we just started writing together. I think that I did, we pooled, like, What Kind of Love Is This was an idea that I had in my pocket when I came to the band. Basically the chorus and the intro riff. And I can't remember how the story goes, but Daryl says he had the verse idea. He had this verse and he didn't know where to go with it. And I said, hey, he did the verse. Don't do a thing. I'm waiting in line, waiting my time. And then he went, what? And I went, what kind of love?
He had that much. He had the pre-chorus, everything.
Yeah,
I'm wasting my time. Wow.
He had changes, but he was more going, I'm letting it fly.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Kind of, we were mumbling the words out.
Scatting.
He was scatting the verses, with the melody, the basic melody. And I had the What Kind of Love Is This, the line.
Perfect.
And it ended with me going, ooh, what love? And the guys went, don't do that. just go, ooh.
No, I think it was you that was telling me the story that was actually a demo that you guys that the record company released. Was it you that told me that?
Yes, it is. That is the demo of What Kind of Love Is This. That's the only recorded version of that song.
Wow.
We recorded other versions when we did the Streetheart album. We just weren't really able to capture the vibe and outdo the demo. And kind of got dropped, and I'm like going, oh no, wasn't mine, but I mean, it was this song.
It's the song, really. If that had not made the album, it would have changed the entire arc of your career, really.
Well, essentially, it wasn't going on the record until Dean Cameron, who was the head of A&R, I believe, at that time at Capitol EMI, he said, if this song isn't going on the record, the album isn't coming out. It's going on the record. Basically, that's there's more to the story than that, but essentially that's what it is. God bless Dean. Godspeed. We lost Dean last year. Right. But if it wasn't for Dean Cameron, that song may have not got on that record, and who knows what that song made that Streetheart album explode.
There you go. Yeah. See, Dean.
I just heard it on the radio here the other day. I hear it. I hear it every day on the radio here.
Yeah.
That's how good it is.
Every day. It gets played every day. I kept saying, my solos have been out of tune, guys. I kind of overpulled a few notes. He said, you can fix it later.
Right. It's a demo. Yeah.
That's what it was. It's just a demo, Jeff.
30 years later, you're like, oh,
there
wow.
it is. There it is.
How did Corey do? How did Corey do on the solo?
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what we got to touch on, because if everybody watching, we need to know: does this band get your stamp of approval?
Absolutely. Are you kidding? The greatest band in the country.
Jeff had filled in for us one night when Corey was not available, and Jeff did Vancouver with us, and it was totally awesome.
No rehearsal.
Yeah.
No rehearsal.
It was
so
great.
Yeah, it was great fun. I remember saying to you guys after the show, can we play these songs again? I know them now.
Yeah.
That was a big night for you too, Jeff, because you got to wear the number 9 Steen jersey.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I did enjoy that. I tell you, boy, those are hot.
They are hot to wear them on stage. I know. Yeah.
They look good, but man, woo.
I was going to ask you, which might be almost like we should have asked this in the beginning. I'm always curious as a guitar player, what kind of challenge is it when you are playing a guitar completely backwards to 90% of the rest of the planet? When you pick up the guitars and you're left-handed, was there a lot of challenges at that time as far as like left-handed guitars and that kind of stuff? Or how does it even, like, I always think, like, what kind of, is there anything that really kind of like makes it challenging being a left-handed guitar player versus, I suppose, the more regular right-handed?
Yeah, the traditional way. The biggest challenge was finding gear.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what
I didn't have a left-handed guitar till I was almost 20 years old.
Really?
I played flip-over guitar. I would pick guitars based on that. I remember I had a lovely old ES335, which is a double cutaway, which I could play basically.
Sure.
But whenever I look in the mirror, I look normal.
Yeah, yeah.
and I've grown up looking at right-handed guitar players, so it's all quite normal to me. Like I can see what an E looks like on a right-handed player, right?
Yeah, I bet.
I honestly, when I watch lefties play, I go, dude, you look kind of messed up.
You're like Hendrix, right? You're like, oh.
Yeah. Well, Hendrix looked good. I actually had one of my friends say to me once, he said, Jeff, it's interesting. He said, you're one of the few left-handed guys that doesn't make it look weird somehow.
Well,
I don't know what that means.
McCartney was left-handed. I mean, there's a lot of great, left-handed players that you don't.
Sure.
Tony Iommi. Is Tony Iommi lefted-handed? Yeah, Tony Iommi's
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like there's tons of precedents. It's just I always just find it fascinating that like you pick up, because when I was a kid, I picked up the guitar the first day. It just felt really natural to play it left-handed. My dad was like, no.
Really?
And you go,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I just kind of learned that way. But it naturally felt like I should be playing it this way. I just think that would be really interesting. If I'd kind of worked up a few chords, that would have been it. You know what I mean? Like I would have been like that far in. I would have just been like, that's how I play.
Well,
So,
that's
Jeff,
how go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, for those kids that are wanting to learn guitar now and they are left-handed, would you recommend doing what you did, or would you say try to force yourself to play right-handed, or what would you recommend?
I would say play left-handed.
Yeah.
If you want to play right-handed, go ahead, because if you're just starting out, I'm sure you can adjust.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think that if I played right-handed, I think I'd have a faster fretting hand.
Interesting.
I can move that fingers on my left hand much faster than my right.
Mm.
But the benefit is that I may not be able to play the most notes in the world, but I really know when to hit them.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
I know when to hit the notes. I may not play them all, but I know when to hit them.
Yeah.
My left hand is, that's the hand. But I kind of go with my left hand and I go, wow, I can fly with my left hand.
It's
my
really
right hand, not
interesting
so much.
when you see guys like Doyle Bramall playing like completely upside down. Like
I learned how to play upside down.
Oh, is that how you started playing? Like completely
That's how I
upside
started
down?
to play. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But then you eventually strung it.
Yeah. Hendrix made me do that. Because I said, Hendrix was the guy for me because he was left-handed. He was the best guitar player in the world, in my opinion. He was the coolest looking guitar player of all time.
Mm-hmm. Totally, yeah.
And he played a right-handed guitar, but he strung it traditionally.
Just upside down, yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense for chord shapes and stuff. I've seen lefties that play upside down.
Yeah,
and it's interesting. I think Seal plays upside down.
Seal plays upside down. What if you guys do that? It's very interesting, but
And Doyle Bramall plays like that, doesn't he?
Doyle plays like that. Yeah, it's like you're watching him and you're going, what am I looking at? Like it doesn't even make sense. Yeah.
I did. Go ahead.
Hendrix with the V. Sorry, like the upside down V. It was like it just looked cool, even though it was upside.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing too is you see plenty of left-handed drummers as well. So I mean, not plenty, but you do see them, and it's like it's interesting to see guys who got it, turned the other way.
Yeah.
So it's very natural. Well, it's the same with hockey. Hockey's right and left,
Yeah.
Well, it seems to be hockey's almost 50-50. I mean, it seems, it's. I guess it's. I mean, I can't strum a guitar. I can hold it right-handed, but I have a hard time actually hitting the strings with my right hand. It's like.
Right.
It's like the first week you played guitar.
It's like starting from scratch. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, these fingers are not built for fretting at this point. After 100 years of fretting with this hand, it would just be like murder on this hand. Try.
Oh yeah, but the speed of my left hand, what I was alluding to earlier, I can rotate my left hand fingers much faster than my right. I mean, so who knows? I would have been a more tasteless guitar player. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I think you kind of did the right thing. You play the right notes. That's the important thing.
Well, thanks for that. I don't play many, but I try and play the right ones.
I like your notes.
Thank you. Well, I will say that one of the things that Streetheart taught me was having to play songs from two very good guitar players. Like Paul Dean, he's had such a big influence on my career because I played his songs, but also I believe he's a guitarist who has played very few extra notes that aren't necessary.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
His solos are all melodic. You can sing them all. There's no junk. There's no fat.
Yeah.
It's lean, mean kind of guitar playing. Every little ka-chuck he does matters.
Totally. Yeah.
That's the thing. His swagger and his feel and all of it. So.
Yeah.
Feels so everything he plays.
I can see it in your face.
And the thumb playing.
And the thumb.
His thumb's always over the, playing notes everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I use my thumb a lot, Corey, because with the way you have to play certain songs, you need your thumb. Yeah. You need to play it. I mean, I learned it out of necessity.
But that's a Hendrix thing too, isn't it?
That's a Hendrix thing too. He was a big thumb guy.
Yeah. Those looks on Shane's face weren't anything about guitar playing. He's actually sitting on his thumb right now because he's getting.
I have to go sit and start drinking it's literally like half a gallon. I think you have to take.
Jeez Louise, that sounds
fantastic.
Right. That should be like a. You have to make home videos just so next week we can enjoy. No, don't.
So
as of next week, Corey will be a year older. Let's not forget.
Yeah, that's right.
A decade older.
It's Corey's birthday on Friday, everybody.
Can we say happy birthday, or is it not cool ahead of time? Or we're just wishing you early happy birthday?
I wish you early happy birthday. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, thanks,
nothing like birthdays during quarantine. Are you still fairly quarantined, or like what?
Yeah, I mean, I went on that hike yesterday with 2 other guys, but we kept our distance and we sort of spaced ourselves in selfies and that sort of thing.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do for your birthday? Are you going to do anything of any interest?
I'm finishing the Backbone Trail, the 9 miles, with Jody, my wife.
Oh, she's coming. Okay, good.
Yeah, and we're going to go basically at sunup. So I'll probably get down to the end at 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning, and then I got the rest of the day to party.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Party like it's 1970. What year were you born?
Exactly. 1970.
So Jeff, a couple of questions just coming in too, and it'll be a 3-part question here.
Okay, Darren.
Somebody's asking, who was your favorite guitarist growing up? And 2-part, if you didn't play guitar, would there be any other instrument of interest that you would have picked up? And 3, what does it feel like to be back in Winnipeg now after spending so many years out in Vancouver?
Okay, favorite guitar player, favorite Hendrix, hands down. Oh, it's always been Hendrix.
Now, was that because of the left
master,
thing, or was that just because of the guitar playing?
It was partially as a kid when my brother introduced me to Hendrix. He said, "Jeff, you need to check out this guy. He's left-handed." And the first song I heard was Spanish Castle Magic, and I was sold. Hendrix is the guy. The next question you were asking about if I didn't play guitar, what would I play? Drums.
Oh.
In the hierarchy of bands, I think the most important guy in your band is your songwriter, and after that, it's your drummer.
That's true. Who knew Spider plays drums? I didn't know.
He's an excellent drummer. He's a terrific drummer. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's studied. Well, Spider Sineve has an incredibly good sense of time. Like when we're grooving and playing together, him and Daryl have wonderful time. I mean, I think I have good time, but when we play together, the 3 of us are playing together, it's rocking.
I bet.
And
no doubt.
It's quite fierce. The last question, Darren, you were asking about what is it like to move back to Winnipeg? This is an amazing city. Historically, is an amazing rock and roll city. It's got some of the finest, best rock and roll fans in the country.
Absolutely.
I have wonderful friends in this city that I've had for 40 years. It's got a great music scene and music community. It's really alive. There's great food here. I mean, I miss Vancouver. Vancouver is a beautiful city, and I miss my friends that are there. But
sure,
I as I said, it broke my heart to leave Vancouver, but I landed in a very good place. My gal's here. I have so many wonderful people in this city, and I have great opportunities, and I'm thrilled to be here and to be able to write every day of the week with Ken Sineve and Daryl Gutal is a real.
Yeah, that's gotta be a real benefit because you guys are now all in the same city, so that's great.
Yeah. So because we talk about this. We say
even Paul's there, right? So basically, is the whole band pretty much? The whole band's pretty much based in Winnipeg.
Yeah. We're Winnipeg band now.
That's right.
I've lived in this city before, so I knew exactly what I'm getting into. I mean, people go, Winnipeg, it's going to be cold, happy. I go, yeah. Why do you think the musicians are so good? practice. I mean, you know me. I love to practice. Practice is a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
You know, and now and songwriting is the same thing. It's a practice. We just slid right back into it. I can't. I want all the fans to know how excited we all are about writing material again.
Well, I'm excited. I think we're all excited about this.
Yeah. It's going to be something. I mean, we're so grateful. Paul, like I say, Paul has stepped in, and he's stepped in with so much respect and appreciation for the legacy of this band. It's great that we have a Winnipeg-based band. And like a lot of my musician friends in Vancouver said, Jeff, I'll probably see you more when you're living in Winnipeg than in Vancouver. You know, you don't go out, right?
Right.
You know, you're busy. I mean, when I'm on the road in the summer, you know, typically I get home at Sunday night, do a face plant, you know, have a glass of wine, food, and do a face plant. Get up Monday's business day. Tuesday's my weekend. Right. Wednesday, start washing clothes.
Yeah. And then back to work.
Back to the airport on Friday morning.
Yeah.
So no, I'm thrilled to be back here. I'm getting settled, and I'm really excited about the future here.
Well, let's hit the list for Winnipeg. The Guess Who, Neil Young. The list goes on and on. Who else? Who else is from Winnipeg?
Streetheart.
Streetheart. Well,
Orphan.
I guess BTO would then be also.
BTO, yeah.
The Pumps.
The Pumps.
The Pumps.
Yeah.
Orphan. Yeah, it's an amazing city. Chantal Krabiazic.
Yeah. No, this and it's just the culture remains of music. I see the culture of rock and roll being replaced by condos in Vancouver. And all you have to do, you have friends in Vancouver, you understand their plight.
Well, you know back in the 80s, the punk rock kids called Vancouver No Fun City because they had a lot of rules and regulations about time restrictions and this and that. So it's always been a tough place to make it happen. Although, you know, the Commodore Ballroom is one of the greatest in the country. You know,
absolutely.
It's tough. It's expensive as all get out to live there. It's more expensive than Los Angeles, I think. But
no, you can't. It's only a working musician is going to have a very difficult time trying to survive in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I mean, Vancouver one time had this great club scene. It was the recording capital of the world.
Yeah.
You know, it had three of the biggest producers with Bruce Fairbairn, Bob Rock, and Mike Fraser.
That's right.
Yeah. Working out of Little Mountain was Mecca.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, all the nightclub scene in Vancouver after midnight was always, you know, there would always be star sightings.
Absolutely.
It was great fun, but the culture has changed a lot in that city. You know, it's become a very modern city, and rock and roll sort of breeds itself out of subculture. You know, that kind of gritty rock and roll is a bit of a dirty thing, right?
It is.
That's what makes it good.
I know. You know? It's a dirty secret.
Yeah. This is why we love
Winnipeg is dirty. That's why I love it.
In the best of ways.
It's a good dirty because of all the cold weather.
Yeah.
And you know, you get pummeled in the winter with all the sand and the dirt that builds up. I mean, it's not Vancouver.
Salt really messes up your car from the snow and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
It's awesome. But it does
rock and roll.
It does breed great music. So, and I think we can say as Toque members here, we're kind of jealous that you guys all live in the same city and can be creative, social distance or whatever.
Country, actually, because our drummers, actually 3 of you, Brent, Darren, and Jeff, are all in Winnipeg. Probably 10 minutes away from each other. How
about that? Yeah, 10 minutes.
What's for dinner, Jeff? I'll be over in 20 minutes. What's for dinner?
We can talk.
No, or if you need a little. Hey, wait, I'm a drummer, and you guys are a band. And
well, it should be noted that Fitz did some time in Kenny's.
Yes. No, listen, he's he's a legend in our camp.
Yeah, sure.
You and I didn't get to play, Jeff, together in the band Streetheart, but thankfully to play together with Toque has made up for that. So that's fantastic.
That was a thrill for me, you guys. I have so much respect for all of you guys. Like I love you guys immensely. You are some of the finest gentlemen I've ever met in this business, and
well, that's awesome.
This here. I go, I'm in this band. They go, you had a Toque t-shirt. I go, I'm in the band.
Yeah, you are. You really are.
We exist because of you. Your name should be extended in those names. There should be an extra
It's all good. It's all great. Listen, I just, it's so great to be here with you guys today. It's just the best. Thank you.
I remember when it came up, like when Corey couldn't do it, and we started talking about people, and somebody, I think probably Fitz goes, "What about Jeff Neill?" And I was kind of like, "Why would Jeff Neill want to play with us? Come sit on it with us." And the next thing I know, we're on stage with Jeff Neill. I'm like, "Damn, this is great." I mean, people loved that. That was a huge night.
It was so much fun. I'm looking at the list, you know, and I keep seeing Tom Sawyer.
What venue was that? Were you guys
it was
in Vancouver?
The Imperial.
Down on like off Hastings.
On Main, I was on Main, about half a block from Hastings. Yeah, fantastic club though. That was a great night. Nice crowd. Wonderful.
Yeah. We were far away in Japan, Shane.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I ever played that club though when I was there.
Zach Throne was there then. That's what Zach and Jeff. It was a fun night. It was really fun. Yeah, it was.
Do you know that Jeff played with me on a Shania gig?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
We played at the Junos in 1997, wasn't it?
Yep.
Wow.
Played the Juno Awards in Vancouver together at GM Place.
That's right.
Year?
Yeah. 1997.
It was back when we needed another guitar player still.
Yeah.
And I told the story about Peter Fredette. He was vying for the same position that you were.
Okay.
And I got both your auditions.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that. I mean, I come walking in, I'm like 6'4", right? Shania looked at me and she went, "Boy, you're big."
Well, 'cause she's quite short, right?
Yeah, she's a tiny little thing.
That happens to me all the time too. People are always like, "You're too tall to audition for anything," because everybody's normal sized, and then there's guys like me and you who are like, "Who's the tree on stage? Why is Yeah,
so we played Still the One, right? Was that what it was?
We played Still the One, and I mean, all her management, they were so classy. They were so nice to me. The big thrill was meeting Mutt for me. Meeting Mutt. People go, "How was Shania?" I said, "I don't know. I was kept staring at her husband."
Freaking out over Mutt.
Yeah, I was freaking out over him. And he comes up and goes, "Hi, I'm Mutt." I go, "I'm Jeff."
That's so cool.
It's pretty cool.
Anyways, he was a lovely. It was just so nice to meet him. That was a fun experience. Doing that one. You know, it's just and you know, like what a great band that was that you were playing with at that time.
Totally.
And you've had some crazy experiences when I think about it. It's like not just even just doing a Shania one-off gig plus Australia plus the south of France plus Streetheart plus all these things. It's a hell of a story, you know what I mean? The best thing about it is that story is actually not even close to over, which I think is very exciting.
Yeah.
No, we like to think. I mean, we definitely have a lot of time behind us, but we still have lots of time in front of us. One of the reasons I came to Vancouver is I said to the guys, guys, we can't think in terms of decades anymore. We have to think in terms of years.
Yeah.
I mean, we can be as cavalier as we want to, but I've been making records for 40 years. So you can pretty much guess where my age is at.
Sure, yeah.
So I don't have another 40 years in front of me. If I do, I'm going to be the oldest man on the planet playing rock and roll guitar. So we need to make the most of our time now. So this year has been a tough one because, like it is for a number of our colleagues.
Absolutely.
Health.
Yeah.
You guys are considerably younger than us, and that decade is an enormous amount of time. I'm a few blocks ahead of you guys. I'll tell you how it goes.
You look like a spring chicken.
Yeah.
Hey, you're
I feel battered. I'm doing okay. You do the best you can with yourself.
You kept your hair. That's important.
Did you get your colonoscopy?
I just finished it. Hang on a second. Oh no.
It's
was the anesthesia procedure free? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, so far health has been good. I'm grateful for that. And all things being rolling a good way, we're going to continue to keep going on for quite a while. Everybody's in good shape. Everybody's healthy, everybody's clean. I think we've got health going for us, and we've got great bands. We're in good shape.
And you chose a great a great partner now because she's a doctor or something, right?
Yes, she is. Yes, Renata says to me, Jeff, you know, when we first started dating, she's going, I don't need a, I don't need a girlfriend. She said, Jeff, I'm the perfect girlfriend. I live in Winnipeg.
Yeah, she's super cool.
She says, I'm 12 years younger than you, and I'm a doctor. You're going to need me in about 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, that's good. No, and she's an amazing gal, and she's one of the big reasons why I'm in the city too.
Nice.
And again, she's just one of the most finest people I've ever met in my life. So I'm very grateful for that.
Please say hi for us.
I will, and you know how much she loves all you guys too. And I'm sure she's
I had a nice
watching.
chat with her at the gig.
Yeah.
A little gig.
Fantastic.
There. Yeah.
Yeah. No, she's she's the same every day. She's always incredibly upbeat and happy and positive. And I've never been anyone more supportive, you know, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. I mean, at this point in your life to have that kind of support, we all know what that means as players. Having that kind of support at home is really something.
Can we also applaud Renata because she is absolutely a frontline worker and has been this entire time.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Yes, she's been there every day. She's, you know, and you know, she would just tell you, practice excellent hand washing, keep your distance, you know, and just do the right thing. I mean, I think Manitoba, along with many other parts in Canada across the world, have done great work just staying away. They haven't overwhelmed, which is probably already an overwhelmed health system. You know, health system never gets enough government money, in my opinion.
No.
So, you know, a COVID outbreak would just tax a system that's just hanging on. So, you know, kudos to Manitoba for having just over 300 cases.
Wow.
You know?
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's impressive.
And, you know, when I came up across the border, it was mandatory. We talked about this a couple times in these two talks. 14-day quarantine, and the government is strict on it. And I'm very thankful that they were enforcing that on me and everyone else when you enter the country. Is like, no, this is very important, you know, coming out from another place, and you need to quarantine. And I did. And
It's
I'm glad
unfortunate that a lot of the
in
other people in
Manitoba
this country are not doing the
country.
same, though. That's the thing. So.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's. I know that when I drove at the end of April, when I came here at the end of April, when I crossed over the border from Saskatchewan into Manitoba, they funneled the cars through a little sort of rest area, and there was an officer there with a colleague who was, you know, had his PPC on, and the officer was very friendly. He said, "Welcome to Manitoba. What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm moving here." He said, "Okay, you know, you have to quarantine for 14 days." And they handed me a little sheet of paper with just some instructions on it, and very nice. But they were just checking. It was actually the only stop on any of the borders between BC, Alberta to Saskatchewan to Manitoba. That was the only place where I was stopped.
Huh. So how long have you been in Winnipeg now? I think
I came here at the end. I've been here for essentially 2 months now.
Okay, great. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm getting settled, getting my place together, painting. Getting the studio. The big day was when I got fired up the studio and flipped up a session and went, "It's ready."
Yeah, you're back,
baby. It's alive.
That is fantastic. Yeah. We want to thank you, Jeff, for being on the show today, and we've got a bit of a video here, and hopefully we'll get through this. Not like Kim Mitchell's people, but when you guys all got together at the Toque CD release party, you came up and joined the guys on stage for an acoustic rendition of Snow White, amongst other songs. So we're going to leave everybody with that today. Looking forward to seeing what Streetheart has for us in the upcoming months and years. And again, we want to thank you for being on today.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Jeff. Brent, Shane.
Thank you.
Love you guys. All the best.
You too, man.
Stay safe, brothers.
Level there and everything? You good?
I'm good. All good to go.
Do you want to count us in? Because it's your song.
1, 2, 3, 4. Your life a fairy tale. the teacher's pet. Straight A's ain't all she gets. Specializes after school.